everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 12 of Natsume Yujin-Cho, or Natsume's Book of Friends, and it is the penultimate episode before the season 1 finale, if you can believe it. I was talking with the mods. I definitely, after I finish season 1, I'm going to get with the moderator floor for the channel and talk about maybe watching a couple episodes that are like back to back, because they did say there were some episodes that could be watched back to back. So please don't tell me. I'm going to talk with the mod. They're going to explain it to me. And then I might watch a couple episodes, like 2 episodes in a row. I don't know if I'll be able to still use Streamable for that, or if I'll have to switch to Vidyard for the longer videos. It will just depend, but it may have to go back and forth. I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. But in any case, I am really excited. With it being the season finale, I don't know if this episode, we've not had like a cliffhanger yet in this series. It's all been pretty much like things happen and it's very episodic, and then we move on to the next thing. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. But in any case, I do have one comment from Seppi that talked about way back in episode 6, where Natsume talked about being the only one that could see yokai and interact with them. And back in episode 6, it was framed as something that was sad and lonely, and it was like unfair. But here in episode 8, which is the episode they're referring to with the fireflies, the idea that Akafumi is the only one that can see Hotaru, it suddenly doesn't have a cruel or unfair or sad meaning anymore. Instead, there's something that's kind of special attached to it, and it's viewed in a much more positive light. And I thought that was really cool. I loved that. So Seppi, I'm glad you brought that up. I've loved how in this one season alone, Natsume's development has been very, like, it's been very subtle but noticeable, and it feels very organic and real. It feels like it's not a complete 180 for his character from start to finish of the season, but instead it feels kind of like something that has developed, and I really, really like it. Other things that have developed is that Madara keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And last episode, they went on this big old journey, this big old hike to go and have their Ferris Bueller days off moment, and it was just hysterical. It was such a fun little one-off episode. I've also been told by the moderator floor that I can now read manga volumes 1 and 2. I don't know. I thought about this today. I might try it out for next week. I might do like, and I'll check with the moderator, so don't worry. But I may try to do at the end of each season, like a manga wrap up alongside. I'm not going to react to the manga with you all. I'm sorry. I just don't have time on my channel. We'd be here forever. But I do kind of want to talk about the manga, so I'm not opposed to getting the manga and reading it alongside. Not reading alongside, but reviewing it alongside the season finale, and doing that for each season to kind of catch up where the manga is. I think that would be fun. I think it would be neat. And I know that Natsume is getting a new season later on, so that'll be cool to kind of see where it's at in relation to the manga when we get there. But with that being said, I'm really excited to dive into this volume and see what we get. So, I hope you all are excited. I definitely am, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right into volume 12 of Natsume Yujin-Cho, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. You know, that episode was actually terrifying. So I realize as I'm watching this series that we're dealing with a show that has 6 seasons. So there's a lot of, this is just season 1. There's a lot of groundwork being laid. There's a lot going on with it. I get that. And I feel like this episode and throughout season 1, it's been setting up little things like with the Exorcist, there's stuff with the magic that's being set up. But it's also setting up this idea that there are some kind of like malicious spirits that are possibly going to be a threat, like this one in this episode that literally wanted to kill Natsume. And not only that, but there are also kind of these otherworldly elements attached to the yokai that are not explained, like the shadow. It just follows you to kill you, and you're like, oh, that's all. And it's like, oh my gosh, this episode was actually like a piece of horror sandwiched between like a really calm, chill, vibin' OP and ED. And I was like, which I'm going to be savoring the OP and ED next episode. I may not talk through them because I'm just going to want to sit there and be like, and like soak them in, because I have a feeling that they're going to start and end with them. This series does not have like the recap or anything like that. So time has passed. It's getting closer to autumn. And they're talking about going to check out the dam and see what a wholesome group of teenage boys. They're just gonna go hang out at a dam, watch the leaves change colors. The most wholesome group of teenage boys to ever exist. Although the one friend's like, I'll bring a naughty magazine, and the other guy's like, we leave those at home. Maybe they're like, maybe Natsume doesn't want that kind of magazine, or they don't know if he does or not. So I do want to say this. If I were in Natsume's shoes, I would feel like I kind of got the shaft. Because if you're ever on detail for bringing food to a party, the one you always pick are the drinks. The drinks are the easiest. You just get a couple 2 liters of some soda. You spend $10 getting like 3 2 liters and a bag of ice. You're covered. You got all of it. You may spend like $2 more on some cups. Like less than $20, you got enough sodas and stuff to take home extras. Like drinks are the easiest thing to bring to a party. They require the most minimal effort. They're already prepackaged, ready to go. You have to do nothing. You just go buy them, show up at the party. You can do it 10 minutes before you get there. You don't have to, there's no prep work with the drinks. So the one friend being like, oh, I'll get the drinks. Natsume make the sandwiches. like make the main course. I'm like, you don't volunteer that on somebody. Someone needs to volunteer for the sandwiches. You don't pass that off. So I felt for Natsume when he was like, oh, like you guys are doing snacks and drinks and you want me to make the main course? He's like, and their excuse was that Toko could do it, the foster mom, the distant relative. But I totally get Natsume being like, I will probably be exercising spirits tomorrow. I don't have time to do that. And I don't want to like disadvantage her to put her out with all of that. So it's interesting we don't ever see it come to fruition. So I guess it never happened. Or maybe they're talking about doing it later. I guess they're talking about doing it later because Natsume's like, he's like, I don't know if I can make them on my day off. And they're like, what are you talking about? Ask Toko-san. She'll be glad to help. What's interesting about that whole scene is also that the 2 friends, don't understand Natsume's relationship with his adult figures he's lived with in the past. They just see him with Toko and his foster dad, and they're like, oh, they're fine. You guys are peachy just like all the other families. They don't understand that Takashi's been through all of these like bad situations before he's gotten to this foster family. They don't know about his past. So I wonder if he'll ever open up to them or if he's just gonna be like, oh yeah. But the thing that's so crazy is that Toko, I love her. She's so great. And she's very warranted to be worried about him at the end. But I'm glad he seemed to like, we'll talk about that scene when we get to it. But he's very lucky that he's found this foster family who genuinely like him and are trying to like make a home for him. Like that's so sweet. And I love that. I think it's really, really cute. But in any case, like the one friend's like, I just want your foster mom's sandwiches. So they go on their separate ways. I like the path diverges. And Natsume ends up the frog in the spider's web and it being Mitsuru's. I had completely forgot about his loyal servant, the frog. I forgot all about that. I was like, when we saw the frog in the spider's web, I was like, that's really weird. Like, you never see a frog in a spider's web unless there's like an Australian man-eating spider that comes down. I'm like, no. There would not be a frog in a spider's web. Absolutely not. The frog would eat the spider. So that part was kind of like a weird, like, oh. But again, Natsume is so used to like kind of the weirdities of the oddities of this world that he's probably like, oh, I'll save you. And then lo and behold, that's where a yokai is shown eating another yokai. Which establishes that in this series, there are probably going to be some yokai that are a bit malicious. And that maybe that's what Notori is going to be designated or relegated to help with. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna touch base on that when we get to it in future seasons, perhaps. But he basically says he's gonna come and eat Natsume, and then as Natsume goes, he has this tiny mark and then goes up and sees it on his arm. Now, of course, I love that Madara, like, tries to touch it and get on it, and it zaps him, and he, like, becomes this tiny little version of himself, which is the ultimate cuteness. You could market the shit out of Madara as that little tiny handheld, like, I want one. I want a little tiny Madara that I can, like, have on my desk. Like, it's so freaking cute. I'm like, I hope they've marketed the hell out of that, because if they haven't, they're missing a golden opportunity. That shit is adorable, and I would have it in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. I also like that he's eating, like, the little furry donut, like, and he's like, yeah, he's like, this yokai is probably gonna try to eat you, so he's like, I would recommend getting a new bodyguard because I've been compromised by touching the curse, so you need to summon another yokai to help protect you. So that brings up the idea, and I didn't bring Whiteboard Kun out for this episode, but that brings out the idea that maybe possibly one of the reasons Reiko had the Book of Friends and had all the different yokai in it is because if something happened to Madara, she'd need something to protect her, and this would be a way for that to happen. Maybe? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know if that's, you know, something we're going to get out of it or not. I kind of want to know, is it an onion ring that Madara was eating out of? Because it looks like an onion ring. At first I thought it was a donut, but it's like fuzzy, but I think that's batter. Like he's eating an onion ring. Maybe I'm wrong. But he says, use the Book of Friends and get yourself a yokai. And he says, Reiko used to boast about it all the time. So Reiko was like, well, if you can't protect me, Madara, I'll just summon another spirit that can. And it's like, oh, okay. So I could kind of see, again, we talk about where this series can go to from here. I could see if Madara is disposed and cannot help Natsume, then he may have to summon another yokai to help save him. Which could be kind of cool. There's all these possibilities with that. So many possibilities. He only knows Mitsuru, but now he knows Hinoue, so he could get all of these spirits to help him, which would be absolutely amazing. So we'll just see where that goes, right? We'll just see where that goes. But I thought that was really cool. Also, the idea that Madara is teaching him how to make all of these circles that are like to use and cast spells, which is the stuff that the exorcists use. I'm super excited about that, to see where that goes and what we end up getting with it. Like, that would be really cool. Also, I love the idea that Natsume, like, puts on the hood. He, like, puts, like, a little cape on with the hood on it. That's pretty cool. And then he's like, you have to know their face and name. Which is a pretty big caveat. You can't just know what they look like. You have to also know their name as well. And then he's like, place the mirror and the Book of Friends on the ground and put drops of blood on them. Which is a pretty... He's like, there is a price to this. And then he's like, you could add a fingernail. And it's like, no. But he just bites his finger and calls on Mitsuru, who comes to see him. And then he's like, at last we meet again. Which I forgot. He forgot to return his name. I forgot about that he still had it. He's like, yeah, I forgot to return your name, but I need your help. And Mitsuru was expecting this. Like, he knew this was going to happen. And he's like, oh, that mark's gotten bigger, a cursed mark. He's like, I know somebody who would know about it. And then he's like, you know, if you show a weak heart, which kind of has to do with the mirror, like the reflection of the mirror summoning the yokai. It kind of seems like it has to do with that. Like, if you're half-hearted or you're scared, it's going to reflect and the yokai are going to take advantage of it. And the reason he tells him this is because Mizuzu has Hinoue come to be the bodyguard in his place. I also love that poor Madara gets made fun of in this episode. Poor him. And then Madara's like, oh wait, she's the yokai that's into Reiko, Madara's natural enemy. I love her design. She kind of has like an Adam feel from Skate the Infinity. Just a little bit of an Adam feel. I like it. But, oh my gosh, she definitely had it in for Reiko, and is not happy to see that she's been replaced by her grandson. Is Reiko our bisexual queen, or was she into Hinoue at all? We don't know. We don't know yet. I wouldn't be surprised if she was. But one thing that I really do like is the idea that Hinoue, when she finds out that Natsume is a boy, she doesn't immediately stay away from him the entire time. Although her saying, "Where are your boobs?" Natsume's like, "Welp, here we go again. If you'd come a few episodes ago, you would have seen me possessed by the one spirit, and then, you know, might have been a little different." And Madara's like, she really likes Natsume. And that's when she hears Madara and starts laughing. When she laughed, she reminded me a lot of the character Corazon from One Piece. Her big giant smile and the lipstick reminded me a lot of him. And she's like, "Why are you so tiny? Would you go so far just to be loved by Reiko?" I was like, oh, she knows what's up. She knows what's up. My theory about Madara having the crush on Reiko, I was like, she knows what's up. Even though Madara was like, "Shut up. Don't say things about me like that." Hilarious. Give it a rest. I do love just how adorable Madara is. And she's like, "Who's the fake Reiko?" And that's when... And her reaction when she finds out that Reiko is passed and she starts to, like, have tears in her eyes, that was really sweet. That was really genuine. Like, I felt bad for her. And, of course, Natsume, because he is a saint of all saints, offers her, like, the handkerchief, and she swats it. I was like, "Fine, thank you, mirror. Stay away, man." But what I was going to say is that when he says that she's mourning Reiko-san, and he's like, "I feel empathy towards you," what I like about it is that she doesn't stay mad and abrasive against him the entire episode. She develops and evolves alongside him, which is really, really nice to see. Because he's like, "Well, you're mourning Reiko, aren't you?" And she blows her nose into it. I like that she, like, pushes her hair back, and she has, like, the cigarette and everything. And she's like, Ms. Suzu, if I could say it, just said Natsume, and that's why I thought it was Reiko. You have the 5-day mark, and a yokai puts that mark on you, and it's going to absorb your life energy and draw you to them to be eaten. And the yokai will eventually free itself, and it's going to use the shadow to do it. And I like the fact that's kind of creepy is they try to retrace their steps, but it doesn't work. And it's one of those things where it's like you went down the rabbit hole and you didn't realize it. But also, Miss Suzu kind of set it up, so of course he'd cover his tracks, right? The whole thing with the shadow is terrifying. Nope. It felt very much, the shadow looked like, if you've ever watched Spirited Away, the scene where they're on the train and there's all the spirits and or just all the representations of the random passerbys and people, and they just look like shadows. That reminded me of that, but only creepier, because at least in Spirited Away, there's not like a creepy subtext. It's just like, it's supposed to be haunting, but not in like a scary way. Here it's haunting in a scary way. I'm like, I'm glad at least that the spirits only try to touch the person that's affected by the curse, and not Toko and not Madara and the others. Because I thought whenever it started like show up at the house, when they were hiding on the side of the house and Toko like sticks her head out, I thought it was going to be something like, if the spirit touches anyone, they die. And like Toko was going to be in jeopardy. But luckily this is not that kind of series. Although seeing Toko worried for him, I feel like Natsume, he's always tried to take things on himself because he doesn't believe that anyone else believes in him or is going to be there for him. But through the course of this episode, he not only realizes that his two bro friends are including him in their plans, but they're also relying on him. They're like, "Hey, you're going to bring the sandwiches. You're going to be responsible for that." And he's like, "Oh, I'm not used to people relying on me." And him taking on the duties of, the Book of Friends has been so that others could rely on him. And here, Toko's like, "Hey, I'm relying on you to tell me where you're going and keep me informed so that I can make sure you're okay." And it's kind of a new world for Natsume. And you can kind of see where he's a little resistant at first. And it's kind of weird for him to accept that this is kind of a new reality for him. Also, the shot of Madara with his little head poked out of Natsume's pocket, freaking adorable. Freaking adorable. The fact the shadow's called Mary-san does not make it any less creepy. Nope. And the whole story about Mary-san and her like showing up at the door and being closer and closer, no. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna try not to sound like my mind is completely in the gutter. I'm separating the voice actor from Natsume at this point, but hearing Kamiya like moan in pain, I'm not sad about it. My mind's in the gutter, but it's not for Natsume, it's for Kamiya, it's for the voice actor. Leave me alone. I was like, damn, voice actor, get your stuff on. In the little middle credit scene with Natsume, I'm guessing those are bottles that he's drank because his face is all red. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, I really like when Hinoue shows up again and she's like, you're the spitting image of Reiko, don't make that face. I like that she's like, I don't like seeing Reiko in distress. Which signifies that she wasn't usually when she was around Hinoue. She's like, I found the owner. He's been sealed for many years. Of course she found the owner because Mizusu kind of arranged for it. It's sent a shadow after you. And so we just need to outwit it and stay away from it for the next several days. And Natsume's like, okay. Then poor Madara, he just like explodes and his spiritual energy keeps shifting back and forth and up and down. I felt for him, and I'm glad that nobody in this town saw a giant-ass cat in the middle of town. That would have been terrifying, right? I also like that while he's in that form, his voice gets really deep. It's hilarious. But yeah, so Natsume decides that he can't stay home. He can't stay home. He's going to have to go for 3 or 4 days somewhere else. Which, you know, I feel at first when he was like leaving home, I thought that he was just going to run away and not say anything. And I was like, because Natsume, you know, there's a part of me that feels like Natsume still thinks that if he just runs away, they're not going to care about him. But this is different. They do care about him, which is why, one, when he says at the very end, he's like, I want to go home. That's such a big thing. In any other show, it'd just be like, oh, you want to go home? So does everybody else. But no, for Natsume, that's huge. Because Natsume has never wanted to... He's never felt comfortable where he lived, and he's never wanted to stay home. He's always felt like he's an outsider, he doesn't belong there, and he needs to go to a new place. And this is like the first time he legit has a home and a family he cares about, and he wants to go back there. Which is huge, the character development. And then when Toko like yells at him at the end of the episode, it's like a good yell. It's like she was concerned about him, she was worried about him, and he feels needed and wanted with her like being concerned for him. It's like, yay! So I love that. Also, Natsume has like the best high school attire. I like his wardrobe. Also, him sleeping all cuddled up next to Madara like a giant pillow. That part was so cute. I loved that. That was sweet. He has his like monster duffel bag. But he realizes the shadow's following him in the house. The whole scene where he like runs away. No. Oh, so, okay. I was wondering what the joke was with them saying, like, do you have a foreign girlfriend? But he's been writing down Mary in the notebook, like Mary over and over again. He even spells it like Merry Christmas, like Merry, and then he has Mary, which I'm glad now I kind of know how to spell Mary in Japanese. Fun times. But... he's like, I've got a long break starting tomorrow. That's why the one bro mate says, international. It's so cute. But yeah, so he's in. Can we talk about the time period of this series too? I know I brought it up a few times because there aren't really like cell phones and stuff in this time period. So I don't know exactly when it was written. The fact that there's a payphone, and I know Japan may be different. They may still use payphones. In the US, you rarely find a payphone that is in use still. The fact that he's using a payphone, it makes this series feel so 90s. So nostalgic, right? Because yeah, if you're young enough that you don't know what a payphone is, it's exactly that. A phone in a box. There's often a phone book on a little desk that you could look up people's numbers in the area. I know, crazy times, people's numbers in a book for everyone to see. What? But yeah, there was a directory of people's landlines, and you could just go up there, put money in it, and you would find like somebody's number and call their house. There weren't like cell phones that were mobile and things like that. It was a different time, and it was so crazy. But yeah, there you go. I do think also that it's kind of one of the things of the time period where he's like, I hope they don't worry about me. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm at a friend's house. It's fine. Like now in modern times, you'd have like GPS trackers on phones and stuff like that, and ways for like the parents to call each other and all that. But here in this time period, she's kind of just relying on Natsume to be okay and be telling the truth. And I'm sure there was a part of Toko that was wondering if he was, running away from home, if he'd had enough of them based on his track record. So there's a lot at stake, and I'm glad that it worked out for him. But then Hinoue shows back up and says, "You're not like Reiko. You like people, don't you?" So that's a nugget of information about Reiko. Reiko didn't like people, at least when she knew Hinoue. She disliked people and wanted to be a loner. And Natsume's like, yeah, unlike my grandma, I've met people that were kind to me, and I want to be a kind person as well. And meanwhile, there's Madara being just the fattest thing ever. And then she says that he's soft for a man. I'm like, no, girl, don't be dissing that. Don't be dissing that. That's a strength of Natsume. That consideration and compassion, that's a strength. We need more men with that in our lives. Please and thank you. Don't be dissing it. Madara, shut up. He's like, got that right. And then he just shrinks to where he's tiny again. So Hinoue talks about summoning a Shiki, something that will protect him. And it's like, if you use part of your strength, you can summon something that will either take care of the spirit or is going to be a dud. Luckily, it takes care of the spirit, which is great. And then I love that Hinoue is like, why must you look like Reiko but be a man? She's like, I'm not attracted to you at all, but you remind me of Reiko, so there's that. But poor Natsume, when he's like, has the dream, and then the spirit comes and like tries to eat him. Terrifying. Nope. Also reminds me of the homunculus from Full Metal Alchemist when it has its mouth moving. Also reminds me of No Face from Spirited Away. So fun times. I was genuinely a little freaked out. Like, obviously I know that nothing was going to happen to Natsume because he's the main character and we have like 6 seasons to go. But I was a little genuinely worried something bad would happen. And then he summons the Shiki, this cute little bird with like yin and yang wings. That's adorable. And I like the message, again, that this tiny little innocent bird packs a wallop and manages to just dispel the yokai and send it a packin'. So yeah, so Natsume wakes up, the curse is gone, and Mizusu, and I like that Hinoue says, seeing you, many thoughts came to mind. You don't want to cause trouble. I want to protect what's important to you. She's like, that's all you think about. And when she says here, I hate people who don't think of themselves. That's interesting because it's like, was Reiko kind of selfish and self-centered and that's why she liked her? Or did Reiko reveal later on to not be self-centered and selfish and that's why she said that? We might have to find out later if we get any flashbacks with Reiko. But her saying, like, you need to take care of yourself. I do agree with that. I do agree with her that Natsume sometimes, he thinks he's kind of expendable. And it's like, no, you need to take care of yourself because you're not. You have a family that cares about you. As we see from Toko at the end of this episode, they care about you. You need to watch over yourself and keep yourself safe. So then Mizusu shows up and was like, I tested you as to whether it be acceptable to leave my name in the hands of a human. And he came to the conclusion that Natsume was not strong enough as a human to battle the yokai without the Shiki. And he's like, well, if you were eaten, it would answer my question, but you resolving and using the Shiki proves that you're not worthy yet. You can't handle the spirits on your own. But since you're interesting, I'll leave my name with you and we'll just see what happens. I'll stay in your care for now. And Hinoue, I like Hinoue also says, like, I wouldn't mind if you called me back. I like that Hinoue is like, if you ever get tired of humans, come get me. So we have Mizusu now on Natsume's side in case if something happens to Madara. And he'll make fun of Madara along the way, which is hilarious. But also, I feel like what Hinoue just said to him is total foreshadowing. I feel like there's going to come a moment, it may be seasons from now, whenever, when he will like have some kind of argument or beef with one of his friends or family and goes to find Hinoue and they talk it out. And maybe she'll talk about Reiko and her, whatnot. I feel like that's going to end up happening at some point. And I'm assuming Hinoue is in the Book of Friends as well. So, because he summoned her as well. So yeah, we'll just have to see about that. But man, I love it. Toko's like, get in there. I'm going to scold you. And Madara's like, oh. She's like, I was so worried. And that's when Natsume, He just says, I'm home. I'm back in my home. My home where I live with the kind, warm-hearted people that I care about. That's so sweet. Yeah. To see Natsume's growth over the course of this season, like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's been so subtle, but so rewarding and sweet. I absolutely love it. So yeah. That's awesome. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So, yeah, next week is the season finale. Crazy, right? I'm going to try to see if I can look into at least the first. I'm going to check with the mods. They told me the first 2 manga I could look at. I'm going to try to see if I can look at any more of them, or if it's just the first 2 volumes, and then hopefully I'll be able to talk to you all. I don't know if it'll be for episode 13. I might go ahead and watch episode 13, but be working on reading the manga. And then when we start season 2, at the start of each season, either at the ending or the start of each season, it might be the start of each new season, I'll come in with what I've learned from the manga from the prior season before. That would make more sense. So next week we'll have episode 13, which will round out season 1. I'll be reading the manga in between then. And then starting out season 2, I'll talk about, hopefully, if I get it all done, the manga that encapsulated season 1. So that might work. But in any case, I'm really excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. And I look forward to seeing what's going to happen next week. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah. I'll be back very soon with the season 1 finale of Natsume's Book of Friends, Natsume Yujin-Cho.